Awesome. So,
Yes.
yeah, just to introduce myself pretty quickly, I won't spend too much time on introductions since I've got a lot to get through. But yeah, my name is Stephen. I'm Director of Search at Branded3. If you don't know Branded3 at all, we won Best Large SEO Agency at the European Search Awards this year, which is definitely an honour. So I'm going to talk a little bit about putting together a gap analysis for SEO, specifically on content. This is a really quick breeze through how you would do that, how you would put together a business case for content, and how you would measure that. So just a really brief bit of background, and this is one of my favorite quotes at the minute. So Content Marketing Institute say that 80% of marketers plan to produce more content in 2016 regardless of effectiveness or clarity of success. So I think it's fair to assume that every marketer is going to be creating content regardless of whether they have a plan for that content, whether that plan is search or not, simply because there's a huge variety of different reasons that you would create content. I mean, I'm going to focus specifically on SEO rankings, which is kind of that fifth one down just there. But any content that you create for the purposes of SEO rankings shouldn't just be there for SEO. It's not just about actually improving your search ranking, because if you're not able to convert the traffic that you're gaining, then that traffic's useless to you. So what I'm going to show you is how to put together a gap analysis and a business case around creating that content. I'm going to start straight into it from here, and I think obviously from a SEO point of view, the first place to start is going to be your search rankings. And once you've got a keyword research in place, once you've set up an SEO account, if you're agency side or if you are starting client side, once you've set up your keyword research, use a rank tracker that's going to give you a ranking page as well as a ranking position. That's really helpful. And there are a lot that do this. I'm sure Alex will be able to tell you some of the better ones. But if you don't have this, then Moz or SEMrush are two that can give you that kind of information. Ours that you can see on the right hand side there is just an Excel sheet built using Niels Bosma's tools. So it's not necessarily Google friendly, but it's really quick and easy to get those rankings. So once you've got that part of your spreadsheet in order, you can start making some assumptions. Firstly, if you've not got a ranking position at all, so in our case 200 means not in the top 20 pages, we've got to assume that you don't have a relevant page for that, and in which case you should create one. So flicking back to our example here, Optical Express don't have a page relevant for LASIK, one of the types of laser eye surgery they do, or they have done something technical such as canonical tags which prevent that from working. So if you're ranking number 2, but you're outside of the top 20, that suggests that Google understands you have a page about the topic, but it's not a well-optimized page. So maybe something like the metadata isn't quite right, or maybe you don't have enough copy on that page. You've got something, Google's found it, but it's not the best. So we can look at actually improving that content, and that's another gap that you need to fill. And the third thing you need to look for is when you've got a page ranking that isn't the page that you wanted to rank. So we can look at how we can improve our ranking pages by making sure that we have the strongest possible page ranking for that. So the first thing you need to do once you've got that data is find your average position. Filter out all the non-ranking positions. So like I said, in this case 200, but filter out everything that doesn't have a ranking at all, and then just find an average. So what you'll see there is your average number, and we can assume that if you don't have a page for that and you create one, based on the fact that everything else ranks in that position, it's likely that based on the authority of your brand and the amount of links that you've got and all those other factors, your new content's probably going to rank into that position as well. So it helps you to put together a benchmark of where you think you are based on the authority of the website. So you can actually do the same thing with competitors. If you're using a rank checker, if you have enough data, if you pay for enough access, etc., do this with all of your competitors, and you can work out actually how much authority some of your other competitors have got, and if they created the same piece of content or content on the same topic, where would they rank for it? And that way you can start to put together a picture of what the authority of your competitors' domains are like compared to your own. Then just use a click-through rate model. So the example I've got here is the NetBooster click-through rate model that's from 2014. This is probably our favorite generic one. You can easily create your own using Webmaster Tools search query report data, but just using a generic one like the NetBooster one, you can see in position 1, you're likely to get 19% of clicks from all of the search volume that's there. So you can use your Excel sheet. You can paste a click-through rate model like this onto your second sheet in the Excel file. I usually stick to 30 positions. If you're not in the top 3 pages, it's unlikely that anything's going to drive any traffic to you at all. But stick to the top 30 and then use a VLOOKUP from your second page to apply the click-through rate for the ranking position into your first page. Then you can see an estimate of how much traffic you're currently getting for each of those keywords you have a ranking for. And you can also estimate how much traffic each new page you're looking to create will be worth to you. So if you're, again, like your average ranking is 20th and there are search volumes out there that you don't currently have a position for with maybe 1,000 searches a month, and you feel like you could rank 20th, then that's potentially quite a few clicks that you can start to put into a model that you can work out value. And obviously, just you're looking at the desktop click-through rate, mobile click-through rates fairly similar to this, but you will see a bigger spike around 11th. It's still quite important that you can get a decent amount of traffic for anywhere in the kind of top 20 positions. It's not all about position 1. Anywhere from 5 to 20 is going to get you something, and therefore it's worth covering off that particular gap with some content. So once you've got your click-through rate model looked up into your Excel file, you can look up search volumes as well. So just using the AdWords keyword planner just to export all of the average monthly search volumes, you can multiply that number by the click-through rate to find how many clicks each of those ranking positions is likely to be driving to you each and every month. If your business is particularly seasonal, I'd suggest doing this several times. So, if you're, say, for example, an e-commerce website and December and November are particularly strong periods for you and you're trying to build a business case for making sure that you get this stuff done and implemented before your peak period, just use your November search volumes or use your December search volumes to show how imperative it is that this happens before that peak period, rather than just assuming a normalized search volume all the way through the year. That kind of brings the importance of getting it done to the fore, and it can really help you to put that through your development queue if you need development time to get content on your website. So after that, I'd suggest calculating your brand split. It's pretty straightforward as well, so just download your search query report from Search Console, divide all of your keyword traffic into things that are containing your brand terms and things that aren't containing your brand terms. So in our case, Branded 3, I filter things to say branded, because it's easier that way than say branded 3, branded space 3, branded the word 3. You get a small amount of that, but it helps to be a bit more accurate if you can. So you can filter that out to see brand and non-brand clicks, and you can then compare your percentage split with the actual traffic estimates you get from the keywords that you've just put together and your analytics profile. So in this example, the client gets about 20% of all clicks are brand and 80% are non-brand, which is fantastic. It doesn't that you get such a large portion of non-brand clicks. That shows that the website is performing particularly well in organic search. What that does mean is that using your brand and non-brand split and your organic acquisition data in Google Analytics, you can start to work out how accurate your keyword research is. So if you don't need to add up, the numbers right, you've got to just become more comprehensive. You've got to look at other keywords that you maybe haven't got in your keyword research right now. And just an example here, you can show that from our initial estimates. So the darker graph here shows our keyword estimates just based on the model that we put together. The darker blue shows all of the organic or Google organic traffic, and the estimated non-brand in the middle shows, based on the brand non-brand split from Search Console, how accurate do we think those projections are from our non-brand organic traffic estimates. And as you can see, we've done some work from January to May to really improve the accuracy of that keyword research and make sure that we've got all of the keywords that we need in that particular report. And we've got to a stage now where non-brand organic is actually getting to be more important while we're optimizing as the way we go through, and we're pretty confident that we're accurate with that data. So if you don't have all of the keywords that you think you need, you've got to remember that we're not just looking for what we want to rank for. Keyword research is not necessarily the most useful thing if you're only showing what you ideally would rank for. You need to be looking for what you do rank for. Search metrics is a great way to show this. SEMrush obviously will do that as well. So you need to be looking at keyword data for all of your current keywords as well as prospective ones. I'd also suggest if you've been a business for more than kind of 5 years, you can still get some keyword traffic from your Google Analytics profile, and you can see, if you filter out the not provided, some of the keywords that have been driving you traffic in the past, which will certainly help you to make sure that you're keeping an eye on those keywords in the future. And I would also suggest when you are using a brand non-brand split, I'd refresh it every month. In our experience, because it's only a sample in Search Console, you're generally accurate to within 10% either side, but the longer you go refreshing that brand non-brand split month on month with your new search query report data, the closer you can get to a proper solid figure as you normalize it out. So from that point, you can find out how much keywords are worth as well. So use your data that I've shown you how to put together with your estimated traffic, then just apply your average conversion rate, and then, you know, this for a lead gen business, from those conversions, how many become inquiries, and using an average order value, you can estimate how much revenue comes from any particular keyword. Obviously, this isn't real data. I wouldn't show you that, but it works in the exact same way. If you're an e-commerce business, you don't necessarily need that inquiry to conversion data. You just need the average. For a lead gen business, this works just as well, by the way. So if you are looking for a particular product, so if you're looking at content gaps for, say, your price comparison website, and you're looking specifically to improve your rankings in the car insurance sector, and you're looking for content gaps in car insurance, I'd suggest you use your conversion rate for car insurance products and your average order value for car insurance rather than just a site average, because if you're also selling really low margin things, then that's going to really mess up the projections that you're putting together and make it look less lucrative than potentially it could be. And then when you're looking at that content that you've got, when you're looking at those pages that rank but don't rank in the top 20, it's really easy to just optimize that current content. We're assuming here that, you know, anything that you change when you're looking at metadata, for example, it will put it on an equal footing to the content that you've got. So just, again, filtering it that way, just filtering out your 200s, filtering out your not ranking positions, you can find those keywords. When you're looking at optimizing current content, check your metadata. Is a keyword you want to rank for in the title or the H1? Obviously, meta descriptions aren't necessarily going to help that too much, but you at least need to have it in your title and H1. And then if you're wanting to optimize your page a bit better, estimate that you're adding at least one paragraph. You're adding at least 100 words to adequately explain the keyword that you're wanting to rank for on your page. I would seriously consider adding design elements too, so maybe an infographic, maybe a table or something like that, even a video if you've got something relevant, because improving the dwell time on the page, improving the amount of time that people spend looking at this particular content is going to improve your rankings for it, as well as just making it relevant. And then when you're planning your content strategy, when you're putting your roadmap together, estimate how long is it going to take you to add 1 to 2 paragraphs on every single one of these pages. If you've used your click-through rate model and conversion rate, average ranking position, average order value, you can say how much that keyword is worth, and then you can say how long it's going to take to pay off the effort that you put into it, and that starts to put a business case together for you. The same thing for creating new content. You know, if you don't have the keywords at all, if you're not ranking, if you are a 200, then creating a relevant page, putting you on equal footing in that sense. You've got to be really honest with yourself about whether it is something that you are going to be able to rank for. Because if you are not that sort of business, if it's a completely new sector that you're moving into, and the chances are that you don't have that authority, you don't have links on that particular topic, you're not necessarily searched for in that context, and you're not going to rank in the same position there, so it's not necessarily going to work for expanding out into new sectors. You can adjust the position down, but it's not going to be as accurate. So when you're creating new content, you've got to bear in mind that your new pages have to be at least as good as your current pages if you're wanting to rank. If they're below average quality, they'll rank below your average position. It's that simple. You have to improve pages beyond what you've got. Again, design elements, plenty of content. It's not just about throwing something together. It's making sure you have an adequate page in that particular topic. And again, estimate how long it's going to take you. Obviously, a brand new page is going to take longer than just adding a few design elements to your previous page. So I would prioritize those non-ranking positions, those positions that are in 20 to 200 as a start, because you can really start to show a return before you start asking for that resource to create 20 brand new pages, ask for designers, ask for developers. So what you need to bear in mind is I'm showing you how to make something average. If your site average is 20th, I'm showing you how to make something else that will rank 20th. It's up to you to have a better page than that. It's up to you to improve your current pages with things that you've not necessarily looked at before, with better video content, with more graphics, with more user engagement, whether that's user-generated content such as reviews, or whether that's something entirely new that you don't necessarily see in your sector all the time. The only way you're going to improve your average is by making something that's better than your average. And then the last thing that I wanted to point out really about content gaps is a lot of people think that the gap is often just links. I mean, I've kind of alluded to this earlier on, but not everything is about links, and that shouldn't be the KPI for everything you're doing. You can argue that as link building became more difficult, content marketing became bigger, and that's why content marketing really took off to such a great degree. But that doesn't necessarily mean that all content marketing is about link building. So just when you're putting together that content gap analysis, when you're putting together what do you actually need in order to rank, I would have a look at your link data, corroborate it with as much data as you can. Don't rely on one platform. Certainly don't just rely on, say, OpenSite Explorer. Make sure you've got Majestic and Ahrefs, for example, as well. And use all of the data that you've got at your disposal. And then, again, looking at that exact model that I showed you before, so all of the keywords, all of the total search volume that you can pull from Keyword Planner, and that click-through rate model, you can work out how much traffic you're probably getting from those keywords, and then apply that on the right-hand side. That's the traffic index versus this keyword data, and you can see there's a really strong correlation between, say, for example, domain authority or trust flow and the amount of traffic that these brands are getting. But then if you're looking at your brand, say, for example, I've shown here that, you know, the client has domain authority 64, has reasonable metrics in all of those other areas, you could argue that maybe you have better links, maybe you have more links than some of the websites above you, and that can help you to put together that argument that maybe the content that you need to do is not about links. It's not a link acquisition campaign. It's about relevance. It's about capitalizing on those links that you've already got. If you're arguing that maybe the website above, competitor 5, was your client, then you could quite easily say, yes, you know what, maybe we need some more links and we need to catch up with those top 3, top 4. So, in summary, I guess when you're looking at content, make sure you use the right KPIs. I'm showing you how to make relevant content, make sure that your content that you have covers off all of those gaps and doesn't necessarily do everything. Make sure that when you're creating the basic level of content, you've got the right KPIs for that, and not just every KPI that you can think of. And that's it from me. Any questions at all from you guys?
Oh, wow. I mean, thank you so much, Stephen. That was amazing. And guys, if you have any questions for Stephen, then please add them into the comment box now. We will get to them. But I do have a couple for you, Stephen. First of all, thank you for all that amazing content. Just a quick one. Does Rank Brain mean you should do anything differently now?
I think the really interesting thing about RankBrain when it comes to keyword research is, you know, there's a lot of content out there that's explaining what RankBrain does and how it's supposed to work, but realistically not anyone does know how it's working. So what I think I always like to bear in mind is knowing the reason for it to work. And RankBrain exists so that Google can answer questions that it's never been asked before. So when you're looking at content gaps, when you're looking for actually, if this question's never been asked before and I can't find data about who's been asking it, what I need to ask is actually, what am I the answer for? What is my product actually there for? What problem am I solving? And making sure that, you know, if you just do something like user research, take it out on the street and explain what it does, and talking to actual people about it, I would make sure that actually you've got content, regardless of search volume, that adequately explains what the reason for your business to exist. And that's all that RankBrain is trying to do. If you are being asked something that's really relevant to your business, it doesn't matter if one person searches for it a month. If you're the right answer for that, that's a conversion, and that pays for itself.
Fantastic, that's very useful, thank you. And you talked earlier about assumptions. So how do you track whether your assumptions are indeed correct or not?
I think the straightforward way is, if you are using a rank checker like before, you can quite easily, you know, prioritize particular keywords. So maybe you're looking at a particular topic. I gave the example of car insurance. If you're just looking at those keywords, stick them in a bucket. Keep checking once you've optimized your pages. Check after 2 weeks, after 4 weeks, and see what the impact has been on a ranking perspective, and you can see those estimates differently. Likewise, you know, you can see a lot of data from impressions in Search Console about actually not only you trying to target the few keywords that you've identified, but improving your pages means you're relevant for a lot more things, and you can start to see the impact of, say, for example, a new H1 tag by looking at Search Console data and seeing those impressions and what you're relevant for now.
Excellent. Oh, thank you very much. Guys, if you've got any questions, we've got Stephen on for like 1 more minute, so if you've got a question, please add it now, or forever hold your peace. We do